Hi, dudes! Are you ready, Dad? Let's hit the EAC!
Right, you squirt! Hey, human dudes, it's the Crush Man. You're about to enter the Big Hub Blue. It's awesome! But first, a rundown of safe surfing techniques. Keep your hands, arms, legs, feet, and fins inside the shell. Stay seated and watch those little dudes, Kay. Now grab shell and rock on!
Yeah! Come on, Dad!
Welcome to episode 19 of the Magical Disneyland Paris podcast, all things magical and Disneyland Paris. I'm Andrew Williamson and I'm joined by Simon West.
Hello, hello.
Each Magical Disneyland Paris podcast episode will have a different focus, be it an attraction, restaurant, or special element of the Disneyland Paris world. This episode we are focusing on Crush's Coaster. We will also hand over to you, the listener, and discuss your views and opinions. Hello, Simon.
Hello, hello. I'm looking forward to this one. This should be a really good one because, first off, you know me, I love talking about roller coasters. But second off, this is one of those really interesting rides in the Studios Park that's kind of not quite to Disney's standards. So I've had a flick through what everyone's been sending us in, and we've got so many opinions for this episode. It's fantastic, and they're quite a mixed bag. It's not the usual either, you know, I absolutely love it, it's Big Thunder Mountain, or oh no, it's Armageddon. This should be an interesting discussion, I think. It should be,
and it goes to say that even though I've been going to Disneyland Paris for quite a lot of years now, and I've been quite a few number of times, my first ride on this attraction was only on my previous trip in February. So it kind of shows, even though I do love my coasters, Space Mountain, Big Thunder Mountain, Rock and Roller Coaster, RIP, that it does show that it mainly because of the queue, and we'll get on to queue line later on, but it has taken me quite a while and quite a few years, like probably even more than a decade now, actually to get onto the attraction.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, again, we'll get onto it later, but with the listeners' opinions. But the queue is a big problem with Crush's Coaster. I mean, not just because the queue is itself really big all of the time, but because the queuing system's, well, it's hideous and it's boring. Which, you know, Disney usually does a fantastic job of sort of keeping us at least vaguely entertained while we're in a queue, or, you know, sometimes we have to converse with the other people who we're at Disneyland with, which is painful, but, you know, we do it. But the queue in Crush's Coaster really is a sort of, I mean, it's the pre-show of Armageddon, isn't it? It sucks.
Did you see the other day Pharrell Williams walking around Walt Disney Studios? I don't know why, but he focused on Armageddon, and he was just outside there, just saying, "I'm in Walt Disney Studios, yeah, man."
Outside Armageddon?
Yeah.
Oh. See, I mean, imagine if you went in to Armageddon in the pre-show, and it's just Pharrell Williams doing a gig. Nothing to do with
That would
Armageddon.
actually
Didn't,
improve
like,
it.
Sing the songs or anything. Just doing a gig. I think that'd be fun. Or Crush's Coaster Queue.
Well, but as we're talking about that attraction, I think that would be quite a good one to mention. We'll put that
I
in.
just tried to segue back in.
We'll put that into the queuing area section of this podcast. I just remember I mentioned there not having ridden the attraction in 10 years of trying. It wasn't me in the queue for 10 years waiting to get onto the attraction. I just couldn't really face the queue. We'll get to that point anyway when we get to it. It's normally this time when we talk about the history of the attraction, but there isn't really much history to it. It kind of is the way it has been since it opened. It opened on June the 9th, 2007. It's part of the Toon Studio section of Walt Disney Studios Park. It's created by Maura Soner. It's a steel spinning coaster, and it's enclosed, obviously. It's in the dark a lot, well, all of it is. Duration, 2 minutes and 20 seconds. It actually feels a lot longer when you are on the attraction, whether that's because you are queuing for 4 hours or 10 years in my case. Capacity, this is probably one of the reasons why you do queue for so many decades. 4 guests per turtle shell, and then there's only 12 turtle shells in the whole attraction. The maximum speed is 60.67 kilometers per hour, which equals 37.7 mph. The highest drop as well is 15.5 meters. Some nice statistics there. Anything that stands out to you, Simon?
I'm surprised there's only 12. 12 cars that, is that 12 cars total or 12 cars that can operate simultaneously?
Good question. I'm going to say it's 12 cars that can happen at once. There'll be more.
Because you've always got sort of 2 or 3 in the station at any given time. You've got the pre-show section, where you could probably have a few. You often tend to sort of get stopped at the top of the chainlift hill to wait for cars to clear the next block section. So yeah, could well be 12 operating at once. Yeah.
When I'm
big numbers.
No, when I'm thinking back to my first and only ride on it in February of this year, there wasn't many occasions when I did stop at a brake stop on a chain hill or anything like that. So obviously a lot of it is the I was going to say freewheeler section in the gravity room, which we'll talk about very, very soon. But I don't remember actually stopping at all once you've got to that section, so it's obviously well timed out, and there are emergency brake zones in the attraction as well, just in case of emergencies. But yeah, if any more than 12, then you'd probably be having to stop a few more times, or the track would have to be a lot bigger to be able to fit extra turtle shells on there. Before we press record as well, Simon, we're talking about the maximum speed, 37.7 miles per hour. It feels faster than that. When I am sat in my car at 37.7 miles per hour, stuck behind somebody on a 50 or 60 road, you feel like it's going to take you forever to get to the destination. It's so slow.
I mean, admittedly, when you're in your car, though, you're not strapped to the side of a turtle shell in the East Australian current, Andrew.
That's what I'm missing out on. I should paint my car as a turtle shell and just drive it from the roof.
But then you'd had everyone wanting to get in your car, and you'd have to wait 10 years to drive your car every time you wanted to use it. Not convenient.
That would save me some money putting diesel in it, though.
Certainly would. It's great. I mean, you know, just under 40 miles an hour doesn't sound particularly fast to us, though. For a sort of family roller coaster, that's fairly fast. But you really get that sense of speed because, I mean, first off, you're in the dark, so you can't focus on sort of objects in the distance that make your own speed seem smaller, and it's only ever sort of things that you'll just be able to sort of will catch your eye when they're nearby and they're whizzing past. And secondly, also, of course, you know, when you're spinning and you know you're not very enclosed at all in the turtle shell cars, which are very, very well designed. So just feels like so much more.
Yeah, we'll start on about the actual story now. So yeah, apparently we always take our information from different sources. Well, don't take it. We take inspiration and use our research skills to put together our notes. But yeah, the placemaking began in as early as 2006 to improve and expand the animation courtyard area within Disney Studios. It was completed in 2007, and the area was renamed to Toon Studio. As with Disneyland Paris for a while, it seems to have changed a little bit now since the Walt Disney Company taken full ownership, but no true official press announcement was given until the launch of the resort's 50th anniversary celebration on the 1st of April 2007. So only a month or two before the actual, well, it's just a month before the launch of the attraction. So how you miss... What is that big blue building that's appearing over there? Oh, nothing. It's just some kind of cleaning area that we've built for the staff.
It's like, amazing, isn't it? I mean, still, when we got to Ratatouille, the building was half constructed before they even confirmed that there was going to be a Ratatouille attraction, and still gave us very little information then. A month before, wow. I mean, maybe they just people like surprises. They thought, but I mean, I wasn't hugely engaged in the sort of the Disneyland community back then because I wasn't very old 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago now. Oh dear. But I'm sure there would have been leaks aplenty coming out that would have meant that certainly the people in the loop would definitely have known that this was a Finding Nemo themed coaster.
Yeah.
On the corner.
So yeah, you enter the backlot Toon backlot of Toon Studio and stumble upon the beached soundstage and film set of Disney Pixar's Finding Nemo. It's themed as Sydney Harbour, apparently. Obviously, that's what they're trying to go for. Where Crush and his friends invite guests to climb aboard turtle shells for a ride through memorable scenes from the movie. You've gone so fast, I can't remember any of the scenes from the film.
Are they I wouldn't describe them as memorable scenes from the film. I mean, they're definitely inspired by the film.
Oh, definitely inspired you. We will go through each scene, scene by scene, but some of the main areas that pop out: the Great Barrier Reef. You've got Nemo and Squirt. You've also got some glowfish. Can't even say that word. Glowfish, and you've got Sunken Submarine. That's, to be honest, that all happens within the first 5 or 6 seconds of the attraction, and then you go past the sharks and their chief, Bruce. G'day, Bruce. And then that's it. You're into the East Australian current, ripping and riding all the way through there on your turtle shell.
Yeah, I mean, the ride really is broken down into sort of those 2 main sections. You've got that first bit with the initial outdoor section after a tiny little lift hill to start off with, and then following into the really quite cool dark ride section that they have before heading up the main lift hill and into the gravity section. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Crush's Coaster was one of the first proper Disney roller coasters that really utilised the kind of separate, gravity section to dark ride section that, I think now is becoming more common with things like the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
Yeah, I think you're correct there. There's been a lot since then, hasn't there? But I can't think of anything beforehand. A lot of them, obviously, the 2 roller coasters we've got at Disneyland Parabole, 3 roller coasters we've got, Indiana Jones, which is outside, and then Space Mountain. There's no dark ride section to that, is there? It's just the coaster itself. And then the same with Aerosmith, or Rock and Roller Coaster avec Aerosmith. So yeah, it is kind of good to set the scene, isn't it? Obviously, we talk about Disney being the master of telling stories, and they do that with this, don't they? You set up the story in the dark show, well, the dark ride element of the attraction, and then you blast off into the gravity room. Before we go into that in more detail, let's talk about the show building itself. It's quite strange, I'll put it that way. Obviously, when you're standing far back from it and you're nowhere near it, it's the Studio 5 building is towering above a lot of stuff in that area, a lot of the other buildings in that area. But then when you're quite close to it, you've got I've described it here on the notes as a big blue box. There's some paintings of some turtles on it, and then again, if you get closer even still to the outdoor section of the attraction, then you've got the rockery, which is painted to blues. And in the dark, it is quite impressive when you are standing up there close. But again, you've still got the square blue box, and then the Studio 5 towering above it in the background. But if you're really close to it, it's kind of peeking over, spying on you.
Definitely. So the attraction was built when the studios was in a very awkward phase of, did it want to stick with its original theme of being a studio themed park? Well, yes, but then I think by the 2007 point, they definitely realised that it wasn't really working properly. So at that point, you also get this sort of strange mixture of, okay, well, we've got a huge show building. Okay, well, we can, cover it by making it a studio. It could be Studio 5, that's fine. But then, we need to kind of theme it a bit better than that. So let's make the front of it with this nice rock work to, frame that sort of small drop section after the first tiny lift hill. And we end up with this kind of confused show building that, from a distance, works quite nicely because you see the Studio 5 and it fits with the rest of the things. And if you're right up close, it's fine because you're pulled into this nice rock work. Even though, to be honest, the paintings of the turtles kind of make it look a bit tacky. But then at the mid distance, it does just look strange because you have a mixture of, okay, well, we've bothered to theme this nice bit at the bottom, but then and as you work your way up, it just gets sort of crappier and crappier. I don't really have a particular problem with them having tried to stay with the Studio 5 theme, because at the front you have the rockwork section and the blue box, as you say, and there's quite a bit of depth between that front facade and the facade of the studio.
Yes.
But what annoys me is that they never bothered to fully theme the blue box. I could understand them fully theming the blue box and then keeping a studio behind it, because that's kind of like, oh, well, overall theme, in the background is the whole park and the studio theme. But in the front theme, we did it properly, but they never really did. And they could have done something like, frame the whole thing in that rock work and then make a bigger deal of, that blue undersea rock work connecting up to the Cars rock work for the rally ride, or maybe having some rock work for Agrabah for the flying carpets, or even if you had that front section, maybe with that same rock work on the bottom, but then where the big blue box is, if maybe you turned that into the harbour front houses like you have in the station for Sydney, that would then connect up to the queuing system on the side, so that then you have, instead of a horrible blue box in the foreground, you then have sort of 3 layers of front layer being the rock work, kind of mid upper layer being something else, maybe a harbour, and then in that background that is, still has some depth away from it, you then have the studio theme. Yeah, but right now what we have is quite confused. I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. It's not the biggest problem in the world, but I feel like if this attraction wasn't being created in the time when the Studios Park really didn't know what it was, we probably would have got a less confused exterior.
Yeah, it's kind of how I describe a lot of teenagers, isn't it? It doesn't know where it belongs in the world. It's about 13 or 14 years old and has no idea where it fits.
I think the Studios Park has been in its teenage years for many, many years.
It's going to be a lovely butterfly eventually, isn't it? Once all the extra new lands
it will flourish.
Being added. Obviously, one of the main draws of the attraction, or one of the best bits of the attraction, is the outside section on the roller coaster, or the dark ride part of it, even though it's outside. Dark ride outside. Would it have made more sense if because obviously they've put the rock work in there because the ride comes outside, the attraction comes outside, and the coaster comes outside of the building. If the coaster didn't come outside of the building, do you think it could have been easier to kind of hide it completely and just have the entrance, maybe the queue, like the start of the queue line?
Possibly, because then maybe you could have sort of squeezed the station into a smaller area. Although I think the station's sort of on a diagonal to the show building, because a diagonal would give you the most length to have a station, I guess. But no, I think to lose the outside section would be a real shame. I mean, when you think of something like Rock and Roller Coaster, where you can't see the roller coaster at all until you're basically at the station and you can see the launch, compared to where you just get a brief, tantalising glimpse of a spaceship being launched out of a cannon for Space Mountain or Big Thunder, where you can see almost all of it. It's so much more exciting. And equally, this is a family roller coaster, so I think it's nice also to have that small section where people can look at a little bit of it going round and they can know, it's a sort of two-sided thing. You're facing forward, you're facing backwards. It's going a little bit fast, but it's not too much, so people can get a good feel for what the roller coaster is going to be like. And also, just seeing a roller coaster go around is really awesome, isn't it?
It is.
Just look beautiful. Even if you're not the kind of person that particularly likes roller coasters, I think everyone can appreciate that they have a sort of majesty to them. So, yeah, it would be a real shame to lose that. Although, as you say, having perhaps in some cases maybe just having a plain box to theme could have been easier, but then, I don't know, maybe in other cases, square boxes don't ever look good, so they would have had to have done something to make it not a square box if they wanted to theme it properly anyway.
Let's move on to the pre-show and queue area. It's a mix of inside and outside queue. There isn't much of it. When you see the wait times on the board, and for the single rider and for the standby queue, you kind of think, wow, that must snake and switch back. I now know the word, it's in my head. Switch back, switch back, switch back. There's lots of switchback on this, and like I say, most of the queue area is outside, underneath the shelter. And if you look at any images from the original opening of the attraction, the queue line had some nice, it kind of had more space. There was a lot of more theming in the middle of the queue, and they've obviously needed more capacity in the queue line itself, so they've taken a little bit of the dead space in the middle and added extra lines in there. Again, just not much theming in the outside bit. I remember them redesigning, so I think it was when we just first started Magical DLP website and Twitter account, the hoods at the start where you got the wait times, and where the cast members control entry into the attraction and measure the kids and stuff like that. That has been rethemed since it opened, And even now, I think they've just reopened Crush's Coaster from a little short refurbishment, and from the pictures I've got in front of us now, that has been freshly repainted. There's not much theming in the queue area outside. You've got some trees. There are some signs for different characters and different products based on the Finding Nemo film. You've then got some other paintings on the show building and some like a fake building just before you enter into the inside area of the queue line. You weren't there when they tried the mobile phone game, Simon, were you?
No, I never did get to try it, but it was an interesting idea. Basically, basically since the attraction opened, they realised there was a problem with the queue always being too long and it being too boring. So at one point they launched a sort of mobile phone game that you could play via the internet while you were in the queue, and they used the posters on the sort of show building wall to tell you about this, and it worked for I think a few months on and off, but it never really went anywhere. They never kept it around.
No, well, in February again when I was there, February 2008, we tried. Because obviously the idea was it had its own Wi-Fi in the queue area. So with your smartphone, you connected to the Crush's Coaster Wi-Fi. You then visited the home page on your browser, and that took you to the game. Tried that. The Wi-Fi was down, so we couldn't connect to it whatsoever. It still officially says on the Disneyland Paris website that it is available. So unless they haven't updated that, maybe it's intermittent, or maybe it's down now, seeing as though park-wide Wi-Fi is in testing stage at the moment, and it's going to be up and running very, very soon for both the parks in the full area. So maybe it's going to kind of be updated soon, hopefully. But it didn't work, which was a shame, especially when I had a 5-year-old in the queue with me, waiting. Talking about the reason why we did do the attraction, we went when it was Season of the Force, and obviously they've got the Tower of Terror nighttime spectacular projected onto the Star Wars Galactic Celebration, which was projected onto the Tower of Terror. While everybody was waiting for that to start, and there was still about half an hour left. The queue for Crush's Coaster was 25 minutes. I think we'd done it in about half an hour. So as we left the attraction, we ran straight to Tower of Terror, and we got a perfect place at the back to watch the Star Wars Galactic Celebration. Everything worked out well timing-wise. But yeah, managing to do it in 30 minutes was quite a good call by me to run over and see what the wait time was like. There's not much outside, even though they did introduce this mobile phone app, which did work for a little bit, and it was I think it was racing through some kind of water scene in the sea or in the ocean to catch different things. The switchbacks, loads of them. As you're going forward, you then turn them back. You're then going forward again. You then turn them back, and it's one of those things where you see people, and you keep seeing them over and over again, and they're always in front of you. Then they're behind you. Then they're in front of you, and you just kind of, I suppose time does go by quick enough, I suppose, because people still do it, and I still queue for most attractions. It gets more interesting though when you get into the inside section of the queue, because that's when you start to see. Well, the first thing you pass is the TV, which gives you the safety spiel. No pregnant ladies. If you've got any heart conditions, don't bother coming into the attraction, that kind of thing. Once you go past that, it starts getting interesting, because obviously the queue then goes up and over the actual station. You then go into a little, it's a themed kind of little booth kind of thing that you walk through, and then down onto the actual station. Not the fast pass, because I wish there was a fast pass on this one, and I've tried it many a time. The single rider queue goes in on the other side, and you're coming in over the station from the standby queue. It says there's been numerous testing over the years, and they did do one quite recently for the fast pass, and it just hasn't worked. Have you heard anything about that, Simon? Got any opinions on why you think fast pass just isn't working on this attraction, the way it's been set up?
Well, if you can only have roughly 48 guests on the attraction at once, if you start splitting, say, if you do one Turtle Fast Pass, one turtle to the normal queue. I mean, the normal queue's already so slow that, I mean, then they're just, neither queue's effectively going to move. So you just end up with two pretty unhappy queues. Whereas, of course, single rider, which is properly in place. They did try switching the single rider out to fast pass quite recently. Single rider works fine because when you've got a turtle with 3 people in, you need to pop another one in. That's fine. You're maximising capacity and you're not stopping the original line from moving forward as well. It's a difficult one because the queue for Crush's Coaster, I mean, as you said earlier, the main queue's been expanded at least twice. The first time when they made the switchbacks in the covered area tighter, and the second time when they added the hut outside. There didn't used to be a sort of proper fenced queuing system around the outside. They used to just put up rope fences in that outside area by the hut. But they decided that was so busy, it was such a popular attraction that they had to fence that in as well. I mean, you're doing well, I think, if you can get on Crush's Coaster with a sort of 40-minute queue. That's the point where if you see 40 minutes, you should probably go for it. But it's often well over an hour. I wonder whether Disney ever actually expected Crush's Coaster to be this popular, because they didn't put much effort into the queuing system. They've had to expand it a few times. They launched this game, which is strange because Disney's normally about get off your phone and enjoy this magical world, enjoy the company of the people around you. So to launch an app for people in the queue is sort of a bit weird. They announced it very late. It's never sort of been treated as if it's it's never pushed in the brochures as if it's one of the great e-ticket attractions, and yet, of course, it is a roller coaster, usually a big crowd puller. So, and of course, tied with the fact it has a very low capacity itself. So I wonder whether, to be honest, Disney have just been shocked by the appeal of this attraction ever since it was built. I mean, in that time, the big additions to the park was Tower of Terror. Really, was what they expected the big crowd pull to be for sort of the few years around there. So, yeah, I would imagine they opened Crush's Coaster sort of tucked away at the side of the park and thought, oh, they'll like this. But I should imagine that quite how much people have liked it, or at least how annoyingly large a queue can become when you have a low capacity ride. I think it's probably taken them by surprise.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Obviously, the height requirements maybe have something to do with it as well. 1.02, I think, or 1.04 or 5. So it's just over a metre, I think you need to be to get on this attraction. And if you're I think it's actually the same for Tower of Terror. But when we give Noah, my 5-year-old son, the option, do you want to try Crush's Coaster or do you want to go on that big, massive Tower of Terror that you can see when people are screaming in front of you? He obviously picked Crush's Coaster because he only seen a little outside section, and it was Finding Nemo, so it's obviously a nice little kiddie ride. So I can imagine adults and children alike probably are intimidated by Tower of Terror. You need to be a certain type of attraction thrill seeker to go on that, yes. Whereas you can probably... It is more like family fun, isn't it, going on like this little spinning coaster, even though it is more intense than I actually expected. We'll get onto that when we're talking about the attraction itself. But yeah, I think that there's actually Alan Cafe Fantasia kind of introduces an idea which is probably ideal to fix the problem of the queue line if we had unlimited funding, which probably isn't going to happen, especially as we've got about definitely three lands being created in Walt Disney Studios over the next 10 to 20 years. But we'll come to that when we get to the listener opinions. That will then explain some amazing ideas of how we can increase the capacity of the attraction. Now let's go on to the technology behind everything in there. So obviously, as well as the roller coaster technology, we've got blacklight. We've got animatronics that are in there as well. We've got projections and we've got physical props. So it this attraction has everything with the Disney stamp on it, doesn't it? Obviously, every main big classic attraction that we talk about in these days has the use of blacklight, has animatronics, has projections now, and it has physical props. So it has got all the key ingredients.
Yeah, it really does. The sort of story of the start of the attractions are, in theory, quite a nice one. You start off in Sydney Harbour, which you'd think would be quite nice, but the sets all feel very two-dimensional in the station, and you've got the seagull saying "mine, mine, mine," which is really good fun, but it sort of doesn't ever quite pull you into the vibe of Sydney Harbour. But then you go on the small lift hill and you go through the outside section back into the dark ride section, and that's a really fun start to the ride. And the dark ride section I think is really fantastic. It's amazing how just using darkness and the blacklight technology and certain bits of actual light as well, really the colours seem so vibrant and give a fantastic deep down into the sea vibe. I think it's watching Blue Planet 2 recently, and you think of the sort of incredible things that showed of being underwater, and they've captured it really well in that dark ride section of Crush's Coaster, which is incredible considering it's a roller coaster, and that's just the entry point to it.
Yeah, if you check out on YouTube the making of Crush's Coaster, it's amazing to think as well that the cast members and the Imagineers, they've actually handcrafted everything that you see there. What's that noise?
So every now and again, when a sink is used in my old Victorian house, all of the pipes gurgle.
I thought it was some kind of sound effect for some kind of underwater scene.
It would be good, wouldn't it? I'll record that and I'll send it to Disney and I'll say, "Look, guys, I've got a great SFX for you."
What was I saying? Yes, the hand sculptured cement. I think it's cement that they've used. Concrete, cementy type stuff. They actually do kind of work and just sit there with the trowels and create all the different patterns and shapes of the coral and of the rock work, and then obviously the artists go in there with the paint brushes. And we've discussed this previously on Peter Pan, or previous episode, and other episodes in the past. But it's obviously a different style and a different technique painting for blacklight, because obviously you've got to paint certain areas that are going to be highlighted, and other areas are still going to shine, but you need to obviously work them in the right place. And like you were saying, the way they've created the underwater effect using all these different techniques. You've also got different lighting effects in there. So I don't know if anybody knows, but they've probably got these gobos, which is kind of like a moving filter, and as the filter's moving up and down, that's obviously moving the light. It just kind of creates a ripple and water effect. Really, really simple effect to do. Something I've actually used myself in the theatre, darling.
Yeah, if you want an example of a gobo, if you're struggling to picture it, so think of a theatre light, just a sort of normal bucket light. It's as Andrew said, it's the filter that you put in front of it. So say if you've ever seen just a cross of light on a stage, that's a gobo. That's effectively, there's you put a bit of card in front of it with a cutout of a cross, or the cutout of some waves, and then you spin the filter and it creates that. So that's what a gobo is. Yeah,
it's probably be motorized, because obviously if you don't want somebody having to sit up there all the time spinning them manually. Just imagine, what's your job? Well, I'm the cast member that spins the gobos for the wave effect. That's why the queue line's so long, because it's actually just people getting in to do their job for that period of time. Obviously mixed up as well in this first section, you've got the projections as well. One of the main most memorable parts of the projection screen technology is when you come around a corner in this dark ride section, and you're heading straight towards a scene before Nemo. Who's Nemo? I was thinking of email then. Nemo. What's his little friend called? Squirt. You've got Nemo and Squirt right in front of you, telling a little story. Come on, let's go! And then you turn straight away. One of those Disney tricks where you think you're going to go towards them into the story, and it quickly turns into the next scene, which is the drop into the abyss with the angler fish. That's the official name for it, Scene 5. You then go on to Scene 6, which is the jellyfish It's actually quite a great effect. It kind of goes really, really dark, and then above you, you've got all of the jellyfish hanging down. Again, we've got the blacklight technology, and it's all the physical props of the actual physical jellyfish. Even though we are such big fans of projection mapping, you could enhance these scenes, but I don't think it needs it because of the kind of way that they've used the blacklight and the gobo and actual lighting.
Yeah, we've always got to throw in how projection mapping could make things better. So let's say the bit where you have the drop into the abyss with the anglerfish. Well, maybe that's a point where you could put a little bit more rock work around there, and then use projection mapping on the rock work to sort of show, I don't know, maybe sort of streams of bubbles going through as you're sort of making a dive into a deeper trench within the ocean, something like that.
Yeah, it could have some kind of transparent material, obviously above your shell and nowhere near your arms if you were to put your hands up. Like you say, if you're talking about bubbles there and ripples, you could kind of project on these transparent, either whether it was fabric or glass or something like that, just some extra bubbles so it actually feels more three-dimensional. So you're close enough to nearly touch it and you think, oh wow, I'm actually in these bubbles, just to add an extra layer. It's that area as well with the jellyfish where you towards you see the big submarine and you think, where we're going to go here, and you actually go into the submarine. Are you aware? You're probably not. That I've definitely seen one hidden Mickey in here. On the side of the submarine, you've got all the rust, and you've got all these. I don't know whether they're rivets or they're like some kind of natural deposit on the submarine, as it's obviously been sunken. But there's definitely on there a hidden Mickey right in front of you, staring you in the face. Did you catch that one?
No. Which side are we talking?
Well,
as in, if you're going up the lift hill, because I recognise that's a dumb question on this ride.
No, it's before you've actually got onto the lift hill. You turn round, you've just seen the jellyfish hang dangling above you, and you've kind of got it's just as you entering the submarine.
Well, now you know.
There you go, right in front of you, just as you enter the submarine. It's actually you're turning to go up the lift hill. There's obviously, as soon as you get into the lift hill, which is the submarine section as well, you've got a lot of light coming from down below of the scenery, and it's shining up, and it's kind of given a really, really spooky, dark effect. You've got a lot of metalwork and cog work, and again, more physical scenery as you are now entering a man-made structure.
Yeah, it's a nice transition as well, because you go from the sort of blacklight section into a submarine that, yes, you know, you've got the sort of physical structures around you, but the way that they do the lighting still has that sort of nice, colourful, cartoonish feel. It doesn't feel like you've suddenly gone from a blacklight section into, you know, horror film of sunken submarine, as it certainly could do.
Yeah, we mentioned this on the Peter Pan episode, and you really went into it in really good detail. The transition from, like you were just saying there, from one type of section into another. Now, the lift hill is the kind of transition, isn't it? Obviously, we've got the really slow, windy section of the dark ride element, and then as you're going into the gravity building, going up the lift hill. The only negative, obviously, this is where Bruce and his cronies are kind of popping out at you. And as far as I'm aware, because obviously we haven't really mentioned the spinning element of this, the scenes are developed so that whichever way you are facing, you still get the same features. So a lot of the scenes and a lot of the main important focal points are doubled up. So as you're going up the lift hill, and if you're facing up the lift hill, you get to see Bruce popping out. It's timed so you can see him when you're going up, and on the occasion that I was on the attraction, I was actually looking down the lift hill, so I was going backwards up it, and again I seen Bruce, and I responded and reacted to him a couple of seconds after my family did face the other way. So it has been well thought out and well timed, depending on which way you are sitting on the turtle.
Yeah, I think earlier on in the dark ride section as well, the projections of Squirt and Nemo, I think they're also doubled up. To make sure that, you know, obviously you can you get the storyline of what characters you're following into the deep.
Yeah. The only thing I don't like about the lift hill sequence is the strobe light. because obviously you've got the natural waves and you've got all the water effects and everything looks really, really realistic in a cartoony type way, as you mentioned before. But then all of a sudden you've got this big Australian shark popping out at you with a load of, I don't know, really, really in your face, really sharp strobe light. Not really, I don't know, it just doesn't really fit the same kind of effect, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. The tone of it's a bit strange as well, because it's not as if like you sort of have this terrifying huge shark appear and it looks like it's going to kill you, because you know Bruce, and it's you know, it's a large sort of light blue. You know, it doesn't look like a shark from a horror film. It's not like caked in blood or anything. So to add strobe lighting to it, it does seem a bit over the top. Equally, Bruce doesn't sort of appear from like blackness and then suddenly, oh, it's there and he's huge.
That's true, yeah.
The animatronic's not that sort of sharp and sudden. So yeah, I think you're right. The strobe lighting's probably a little bit excessive. It probably looked really good on paper, but then when they put all the scene together with the actual pneumatic or hydraulic animatronic, whatever it might be, yeah, it doesn't quite all come together in the end.
Yeah, and obviously when I was on the attraction, it did stand out, and I can remember the strobing, but it's only when you look back on POVs on YouTube. I know that is not what the roller coaster and the attraction's been designed for. It's not designed for the audience on YouTube, but you can see, especially in that section near Bruce, you can see a lot of the technical elements, should I say, like the light. You can actually see the lighting and the actual fittings and stuff like that. So we kind of, don't know, obviously it's easy to say this looking back at the attraction in like freeze frame, but it does stand out a little bit, and it's really, for me, the only section of the attraction that does stand out. Taking the strobe away wouldn't have any detrimental effect, I don't think. Maybe, I mean, we know what Disneyland Paris are like with their smoke effects, because they don't really work that well, especially on Big Thunder Mountain. Maybe they could, when they close Armageddon, they could put in the flame effect.
The underwater flame effect.
Put it in there. All the smoke and the what is it, dry ice and stuff like that, because that would probably may have more of an effect than a very dry scene. Because obviously, if you're in the water and a shark burst in, there would be like a whoosh of water, wouldn't there, coming towards you, and you'd feel it. So maybe they need to blast some air on you instead, rather than strobe lighting.
Alternatively, you could take the story in another direction. You know, do we need to have Bruce sort of smash in as if like, it's a shark, I'm so scared? Or could that be almost sort of more of a comedy element, and we have sort of Bruce talking to us as we're going up the lift hill? You know, does it need to be frightening and stroby and massive shark? Because Bruce says fish are friends, not food. He's a fun shark.
What does he say? He does say something on the lift hill, doesn't he? Let me have a look.
It's in French. I've got no idea.
No, I don't. I can't remember what he says now.
There we go. That's our podcast question. What does Bruce the shark say as you're going up the lift hill? In English and French, if you want.
And spoilers for later, but Alan from Cafe Fantasia says you should say, "Hello, possums." Because obviously he's voiced by the actor or the person, the comedian who is famous for Dame Edna, whose catchphrase was "Hello, possums."
Hello, possums.
That's better than mine.
I try.
Where were we anyway? Right, we were in the submarine, weren't we? So, interior sub and Bruce. Like I said, it's doubled up. So whether you're facing... I read somewhere that there was two Bruces, but then thinking back and looking at the way it is, I don't know if there was two Bruce.
No, I think there's only one.
I think there is only the one. And like I say, it's timed so that you could get to see him at different angles depending on which way you're facing. When I got to the top of the lift hill, facing all the way down, I was there for what felt like 10 minutes. So I queued for 10 hours. Well, sorry, not 10 hours, 10 years. I queued for 10 years to get on the attraction, and I think I was there for 20 days. This
is a perfectly factual podcast. I love it.
I've never exaggerated, never in a million years. But yeah, I'm facing down, watching Bruce wiggling his head and the strobe flashing. You never feel unsafe on an attraction, especially at Disneyland Paris. But sometimes, if you're there for more than a few seconds, your head starts to think, I wonder if we've 101. I wonder if we've gone 101 on this attraction. I wonder if we've broken down. And normally, a couple of seconds later, then you're off, as was in the case on this one. But I remember, I don't know if I've mentioned this before on the podcast, probably have, it was on Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom, or Temple of Peril, that was the actual film. Doing the same thing. We were just about to go down to the 360 loop, and we were in the brake section, and we were there for a couple of seconds longer than we normally are, and then I started thinking, wait a minute, we're not going to go anywhere now. And lo and behold, half an hour later, we were still there.
Oh.
We did get a fast pass for all 6 people to come back. Sadly, though, that was the last day, and it didn't open again until we got home. So we couldn't. We never actually managed to do the loop. I've done it a few times though, so it wasn't a problem. But linking it back to Crush's Coaster, I had that kind of thought going through my head. Are we stuck here? Are we not? Because it did seem longer than normal. Obviously, somebody in the station was probably needing help in or out. Because one thing we didn't mention about the station and the queue and the getting on board the turtle shell, it's a continuous movement, isn't it? It doesn't actually stop for you. The turtles actually they keep moving, don't they? Like
in
kind
theory,
of like on Phantom
they
Manor.
do try to.
Yeah, most of the time they do move, but obviously they do stop them every now and then because they are quite tricky to get into. I always spend probably too long kind of, I don't know, not daydreaming, but kind of going through in my head visually, how am I going to enter this ride vehicle? I don't know if
jump.
I don't know if you're the same or if anybody out there is the same. Maybe it's since I've started taking my son. Maybe I didn't care when I was a teenager, but now I'm kind of thinking, right, well, I have to get him in first. Then I need to work out if I've got time for me to jump in. So I'm kind of playing all situations through in my head before I jump in. And then when I get there, everything's fine because you just kind of make it up as you go along, don't you?
This is the good parenting guide.
Well, that should be another podcast. We'll start that off at another time.
For anyone that doesn't know, the reason why you could get to the top of a lift hill and stop, or indeed get stopped at the top of a brake section in the middle of an attraction is that roller coasters are split into what are called block sections. And the idea is that you should never have 2 trains within the same block section. And these block sections are, you'll have the station, then you'll have the chain lift hill, then you'll have these sort of flat brake sections that are always elevated during the normal gravity section. Because obviously Crush's Coaster has trains that only consist of 1 car, you need to have these block sections being quite short to make sure that you can have the most amount of trains going round at once without having 2 trains within the same block section. So that's why you have to wait normally at the top of the lift hill, because you've got to make sure that the first train has cleared that block section and is past the next set of block brakes where you can be stopped, be held, just in case the previous train hasn't cleared that block section. But yes, so that's why you have to be held sometimes, and that's also why on other block sections you can be stopped at the top, because if the previous train hasn't quite cleared and you have to fully clear the brake section at the end of the next one for the next train to be able to go, if it hasn't cleared that, you have to be stuck stationary there.
And it is quite interesting being stuck looking at a shark, looking all the way down to the bottom of the lift hill.
Yeah.
But obviously, you know the reasons why. It's all for safety and stuff like that. The hardest, you kind of give the cast members and the Imagineers a lot of praise from designing an attraction such as this. And I know this was kind of an off-the-shelf kind of ride design, has been done multiple times at different theme parks and travelling theme parks around the world. But that's something you can do your own research on. Wink, wink. I forgot what I was going to say about that now. You were going.
While we're on that, so
go on. Jump in while I'm thinking of it.
The main gravity section, of course, is that's just a stock roller coaster made by Mauer Schurner. So there's I think 6 or 7 same roller coasters that exist with that setup from the chain lift hill around and to the final brake section before the station. However, the station and the small dark ride section, that's totally unique. That's only in Crush's Coaster. So that was developed with the Imagineers, with the show in mind. But yeah, that main gravity section as Andrew says, that's just taken off the shelf.
I remember what I was going to say now. Thank you for stepping in. I was going to talk about designing a roller coaster such as this with all the different block sections and stuff like that. If anyone out there's played Planet Coaster for the PC, we're not being sponsored by them. If only.
I wish we were.
Because I could buy a new computer. Because since I bought the game for PC, my computer's started dying very, very slow death. So I need to upgrade it anyway. But it's when you start, like obviously on these simulation games, you can design completely from scratch your own attractions and roller coasters. Doesn't really go well, especially when you're going to put in your own break sections and lift hills and stations. So normally when there's been an update or there's a new type of attraction or new type of coaster added, I'll try and design my own from scratch, and then I always revert back to some stock that's already been put in the library, plonk it down, give them the money, and then move on. But even obviously I know it's just a game and it's a simulation, but it does go to show the amount of planning, definitely for safety and all the different sections and how they're linked together and how much time is needed to get from one block section to the other.
Yeah, so if you want lots of trains to be going around at the same time, which you really do, then you need these block sections, these flat elevated sections to be really high up. So effectively what you end up with in a spinning coaster with these single car trains is you effectively do you'll do one kind of roller coaster element, a drop, or a helix, or a sort of half pipe style turn, and then you'll be back into another one of these block sections. That's to make sure that you can keep this cycle of trains going around. It's only 12 anyway. It's really not many.
No, it could have been a lot worse for them, couldn't it, if they had a lot more? And again, it's all that kind of knock-on effect as to why the queue line is so long for this wonderful attraction. Once we've waited, and it feels like we've now waited for 20 hours of the amount we've talked about this lift hill. Once you've waited for the next block section to become available, once you've cleared it, you're flying straight into the gravity room. You're right at the top of that big Studio 5 building. So if you're outside, once you've ridden the attraction, look at the Studio 5 sign. You think, wow, I was actually all the way up there in my turtle. Because you're starting to come down now, aren't you? Gravity's taking over. You start spinning. It's still controlled. They obviously want you to turn certain ways because the spinning adds to the speed, adds to the effect, adds to the G-forces. There isn't really much we can talk about in the gravity section, is there really? Other than the fact that it is such a really big thrill. And this is probably a section that either cures or kind of puts people off from the attraction like altogether. You can make or break whether you come back onto the attraction again, can't it?
I think so. So you mentioned that the spinning of the coasters is controlled. In a lot of these coasters, effectively the way it works is that they're either sort of locked in position, be that sort of straight forward and backwards in line with the track, or locked at a certain angle, and then they'll just sort of unlock them and then they can spin freely. Crush's Coaster doesn't really allow the coasters, the cars to spin freely, and I think that's partly because this is a family coaster. They want to make sure that it's not too intense, as you say, that the spinning really adds a lot of G-forces to it, particularly then because you've got multiple G-forces happening in different directions, which could quite easily make you feel very ill. And obviously, if you've got kids on a ride versus adults, you could very quickly end up with a pretty uneven weight distribution in this car. some pretty horrible spin cycles going on. So that's the reason why they make sure that the spins are in controlled places. Equally, if you're spinning at certain sections of track, say at the sort of the top of a half pipe style twist, that's a point where a spinning sort of force combined with sideways G-forces would really become uncomfortable quite quickly. So they have to make sure that you're not turning at these points.
Yeah, and like I said, there's quite a few really, really they're not as sharp as you kind of feel, maybe you feel they are, but on the plans you can kind of see there are a lot of sharp turns that kind of go from one end and then turn around and back to get back again, and again that's when the turtle kind of spins with it, so it kind of adds even more movement and more G-forces on that turn. Scene 9, which is the scene after the lift hill, and that's the vortex. And it kind of does feel like you're in a vortex. That's when you're kind of joining the East Australian current. Scene 10, kelp forest, bubbles, and water surface. And obviously they put a lot of. It's not much there's definitely not many practical elements or physical props in there at all, if any. But there are a lot of lighting effects spinning around. Again, you are going so fast and are spinning that if you had too much to focus on, it would just add to the effect of the disorientation, and it probably would actually make people more physically sick, wouldn't it? So probably less is more in this situation. It's more the sensation that you need.
I think that's definitely true. As you say, there's a lot of sort of gobos and projections going on, but they're quite faint. There's nothing too strong. I wonder whether the reason why they don't go for the sort of very vibrant, very bright blacklight style physical features in the attraction, because there are points where the spins are relatively controlled. I wonder whether the reason is because you need to sort of have two to make sure everyone can see it, or because you would then end up with, because it's all just one large basically open show building inside the gravity section, whether you then end up with, you'd be able to see all of the different scenes sort of at once. But then, to be honest, I didn't really know that there were multiple different scenes in that in the gravity section before starting this podcast. The kelp forest, to be fair, actually, you can tell, because there is a bit where you can see vaguely some sort of kelpy things above you, but it's not. It's nothing too dramatic. It's not the same as, say, Big Thunder Mountain, or I guess a better example would be Space Mountain, Hyperspace Mountain, when you've got certain lift hill points with projections, or when you go through the vortex, or the sort of smoking meteor in Space Mountain.
Yeah.
That's a very, very different feelings there.
Yeah, and again, like you said, because it's just really just one big gravity room, they kind of are projecting light effects to the sides. So it's kind of when you went from one side of the room to the other, and you'll see some more lighting effects on the side of the room. Because again, I don't want to highlight the story is you are in the ocean and you are in this East Australian current, so they don't really want to be highlighting the track in anywhere. They obviously don't want you to see really any of the turtles either, because then you'll see the workings underneath or on them. The only section right at the end, you'll see the Nemo and Squirt. Actually, I'm not sure if you see Nemo, but you definitely see some of the turtles projected onto the wall as you coming back into the station area, and that's when they give you the safe, the final farewell and stuff like that in scene 12. Safe on the reef, Nemo and Squirt give you a farewell. It's very, very, very exciting. I remember asking Noah as soon as he came off the attraction whether he liked it or not, and he was so like jumping up and down. Yes, he wanted to do it again. Sadly, we couldn't go on it the next day because the queue line was many, many hours long. I think did you get to 75 minutes, I think, and that was in the February half term, so it was probably one of the quieter school holidays, and it was still a really, really big queue wait for that attraction. Is there anything else you think we need to cover about the different scenes or the actual ride and the attraction itself before we move on to the next section? Is there anything you think we've missed?
I mean, to be honest, I think the amount of time we've devoted to each sort of highlights the difference in storytelling and quality, perhaps you could say, that you get between the ride of that. A really great dark section ride to start off with. And then what's effectively just a generic roller coaster in the dark with some gobos and projections and a couple of vague physical props around you. It's a bit like Rock and Roller Coaster, where all you've got is some stage lights illuminating stuff. It's cool, it's okay, but it's not the kind of dark ride experience that you'd shout home about that we'd expect now from Hyperspace Mountain, from now some of the new roller coasters that Disney are building. Guardians of the Galaxy and Epcot, wonder what that might be.
While we're still talking about that, the Gravity Room, how it's different between the dark ride section and the Gravity Room section, that kind of does link into the future. What would you see them doing if they did make some changes? and they kept it as Nemo or Crush's Coaster, what would you do to the Gravity Room to make it similar quality of the start of the ride? Is there anything you think they could do?
I mean, first off, let's caveat this with it's definitely not going to happen because there's a lot of things going on in the studio, and this is tiny priorities. Hypothetically speaking, no. I'm sure there must be ways to separate. Maybe if you just put huge black, like stage black blinders, across different parts of the ride, that you'd be able to hide different regions of the gravity section from other ones. So that then you could put in these large physical props that are brightly coloured, and some of the dark ride effects that you see in other roller coasters, like your Space Mountain, Hyperspace Mountain. That I think would be quite nice to see. There are elements, say, that you use in Space Mountain. You've got the vortex. You've got, as I said earlier, that great bit where you sweep down through an asteroid that's got lighting and smoke in it. Well, there's no reason why that can't work for people facing in whatever direction. And I'm sure those things could be themed to being underwater as well. So that would be a nice addition to see, I think. And I'm sure some underwater faces with some projection mapping on could look really cool, right?
What on the guests? What do you mean on?
I mean, probably. An example you could have if you had the break section at the end. If you had you going from, say, if you were in some rock work or whatever, you could have projection mapping showing you're underwater, lots of bubbles, and then whoosh, it all disappears and you're above water again. But it would be really cool though if you could projection map live onto the turtles as they were going around, and then you could that would be a focal point within the gravity ride then, if you could then really see the other turtles going around and spinning or whatever, highlighted by some lighting and projection mapping. That'd be cool. Impossible, pretty much, because all trains in a gravity section, funnily enough, travel at a different speed because they're all different weights, and there's different wear on the tyres and track and whatever. But wow, that would be cool, come to think of it.
They wouldn't need to be projected on. You could just have some turtles that are fully made out of LEDs.
Yeah. Well, they like LED screens now, so
LED screen turtles. And then they could even have sponsorship opportunities on there. I don't know. This turtle is sponsored by Coca-Cola.
Can't do that anymore. Sugar tax.
Coca-Cola Light.
There we go. Much better.
Yeah, I don't. Like I say, even though it is a bit of a mismatch between the dark ride section and the gravity room section, probably isn't much you can do with it, even if there was all the money in the world. Is there anything that you think they could do to the dark ride section? Any new technology? We've already mentioned probably getting rid of the strobe lighting and adding some flame or some smoke or dry ice effect, or even replacing Bruce altogether and him doing something else. Could we see any other? Is there any other technology that's out there at the moment which maybe we haven't got in the dark ride section? To me personally, I think we need some more physical animatronics, because Bruce and a couple of moving jellyfish kind of don't cut it really for a Disney attraction. Could we have some more physical Nemo flying around, or I don't know? Is there anything physical that you can do underwater?
I guess the problem they'd have with lots of physical props, particularly if you have, say, a character, is that you have that problem of doubling them up again, and you wouldn't want to be in a situation where, say, you could sort of accidentally see two at once. So you have to find the right points to place props that are doubled up to make sure that you don't see them twice, which is quite a feat. Personally, I think they've done a really great job with the dark ride section. I don't feel like there's any point of it where you think, oh, there's something missing here. You're on a roller coaster. Roller coaster dark ride sections are never too extravagant, but I think it does a nice job of setting up the scene in quite a colourful and exciting way, but also one that's still, because of the blacklight style that they've used, is still very dark, and it's not too playful. So when you get to the faster gravity section and you're pretty much in mostly black darkness there, you're still quite prepared for that. It's not as if you've been in a environment that's got loads of lights and, you know, pretty props flying around left, right and centre. You're already, because of the blacklight style, yeah, fine, you've got some small coloured props and areas, but overall you're still surrounded by darkness, so I feel like they set the tone nicely with it.
Yeah, like I say, it's hard. Normally, when we come to this section, we can think of things straight away, like we'll add this, we'll do that. But like you said, there's not much really that they haven't really done already, because it does have the projection in there, it does have the lighting in there, it does have the physical like scenery as well. So I don't think there's much else they need, and not much they can do in the attraction. Totally devil's advocate. This was never going to happen. If there could be a new theme. I've kind of put down the show notes, because again, the way that the attraction has been added together with the kind of off the shelf element of the spinning coaster and then the dark ride section, it's been designed from day one, obviously as a Nemo themed attraction for Crush's Coaster. Could an overlay happen to it? It's going to happen elsewhere with Rock and Roller Coaster. It's happened with Space Mountain. Could it fit another theme or another IP? I've put on the notes here, Cars possibly. Is there any other themes that you think may kind of link in or could be used on this already set attraction?
Who knows? Incredibles? You've got an incredible spinning superhero coaster. Who knows?
Could happen. That is quite topical as well, isn't it?
What are the big franchises of Disney not really used yet? We've got a lot of the big franchises coming to that park now.
Which company?
I mean,
Go on, sorry.
You immediately think whenever you know Disney might think about retheming something, you'd immediately go, Star Wars or Marvel, but yes, a bit much to retheme that one to Star Wars or Marvel as well in that park. Which company owns the rights to Tasmania Devil? Is the only thing I can think that spins around. Warner Brothers? They'll probably end up owning that at some point, Disney won't they? Yeah.
You could have a Tasmanian Devil spinning Wild West ride or something, I don't know. As you can see, the future section, like I said a second ago, it's normally quite easy if there's things that stand out, but it's hard to think of anything else that can go in there with what is physically there at the moment, isn't it? I think the biggest thing for me that needs to be done in the future, if it's ever on the plans, something that they need to look at, is the queuing area, and possibly doing something to entertain the guests in the long queue. So they've tried the game, didn't really work. Not only does it eat into people's battery life, but it means that people are more so than ever looking at their phones. It's obviously intermittent; it's not working at the moment, or wasn't. Is there anything else they can do? A lot of attractions have interactive queue areas now where you can, if you've got your magic band on in other parks, you can kind of, there's signs with your name on the adverts, there's physical props. I know Christian, who's on the Twitter account Formula Money, he's currently in America. He's been tweeting lots of images and videos of kind of little Easter eggs in queue lines from using his magic band. Disneyland Paris is bringing in the magic card, which will have your room key, your fast passes, everything like that, payment cards on there. Could it be that you swipe that, it sets different elements, and it kind of interacts, the lighting changes, or there's like little interactive games or storyline elements in the queue line. Could the queue line be made inside? Could they actually put the whole of the queue line inside and theme it a lot more? So you kind of, I don't know, you go, I suppose it's a nice transition, isn't it, going into the beach type of entrance. Then you kind of go inside to the second part of the queue. But is there anything else you can think they can do in the queue line area?
Retheme flying carpets over Agrabah to seagulls flying over Sydney Harbour. That's like a pre-show ride.
Right there, yeah. Might.
To sort of kill a bit of time. And then you carry on into the main queue for Crush's Coaster. So
you're saying the entrance to Crush's Coaster needs to be where flying seagulls over Australia.
Yeah.
So you start queuing there, and then part of the queue is you get on flying seagulls of Australia.
Just 2 rides in one.
Do a couple of cycles on that, and then join the rest of the queue when it goes on into. I suppose it would break it down, wouldn't it?
It would just make it a bit more fun, yeah.
And has it ever happened before where there's an attraction within an attraction? So the main, like the pre-show is an attraction, and then I suppose that's what pre-shows are designed for, aren't they? If you go to Rock and Roller Coaster, you've got the studios that you walk through. Not much happens in there, but that's what a pre-show is designed for, isn't it?
Just an incredibly elaborate pre-show, yeah.
Getting on a flying seagull, then it drops you down onto a turtle.
Yeah.
There we go. We've just improved it.
Solved it. It's easy.
So what I want is somebody to mock up a flying seagull over Australia. And that's as well as having the question of the episode. That's definitely going to be the task of the episode. Somebody out there must be useful in Photoshop. And people have always said, even though because on the plans for Walt Disney Studios, the flying carpets over Agrabah's still there, and there's no plans that's been released so far of it changing. So we've kind of given them the idea of what they can do with that now.
Why don't they employ us, Andrew?
We've said this a few times now.
It's an important question. It needs to be raised.
Anyway, listener opinions.
Oh, just before we head on to listener opinions, there's one more thing that I want to raise because I think it's an important point.
Go on, rewind.
Exactly. That's just on the style of ride that Crush's Coaster is, and perhaps giving some sort of explanation to why it's so popular. Disney as a company is absolutely fantastic at making family roller coasters that have a really wide appeal. You think to the Big Thunder Mountains around the world. You think to most of the Space Mountains, though not the Space Mountain we have in Paris. You think to Snow White, Seven Dwarfs, Mine Train. You think to Expedition Everest. They're all roller coasters that have really great appeal across an age range. And considering Paris has such a large proportion of the roller coasters that exist in Disney parks, by considering we have 2 Disney parks compared to, say, Florida having 4, we have a lot of the roller coasters, and we have almost all of the inversions that Disney parks have. We don't have that many family rides, and I think that's one of the reasons why Crush's Coaster stands out, along with Big Thunder Mountains being so very popular. When roller coasters like Indiana Jones, Space Mountain, Rock and Roller Coaster, they're just a bit too intense for most people. Particularly when you consider the sort of target audience that a place like Disneyland Paris has. So I think that needs to be stressed as a really important reason why Crush's Coaster is so popular, and why I really hope, with the rumours that we've got of a sort of Seven Dwarfs Mine Train style sleigh coaster coming to Arendelle when it finally comes to the Studios Park. I really hope that's true, because I think that's something that clearly there's huge appeal to these family roller coasters, and Disneyland Paris just doesn't seem to have that. And now we have these huge problems of the 2 family roller coasters that are there. They just don't have enough capacity to deal with the demand. Yeah, do you feel all the changes to Walt Disney Studios and making it actually a really full day park, will it have an effect on the queue times, or do you feel are more people going to come to Disneyland Paris as a whole? In meaning that then people are going to spread out and the ride and queue times are still going to be the same as they are now. I know that when Ratatouille opened, they expected Ratatouille would kind of take a lot of the pressure off certain areas, and it kind of hasn't happened, has it? No, I think if you're building a theme park and you're expanding a theme park, if you believe that spending 200 million on a new attraction or whatever is going to detract from the appeal of the rest of it, so that you don't have a net increase in people coming to your park, you wouldn't spend the money on it. You'd spend the money on it because you believe that there'll be a net increase in the park, so that then effectively there'll be X amount more people that'll go on this new attraction, and the same amount of people for the rest of the park. You expand because you think you'll get more people through the doors. So it's quite often that you think, new attraction will happen. Obviously, the queue for the original one will get smaller, but in reality, that happens very rarely, and a much bigger reason why attractions might lose popularity is normally that they're getting old and a bit tired, and by modern standards, they just sort of cease to be great rides, in comparison to they've necessarily been superseded by something that's drawing the same crowds. Yes.
I love how you explained that, and I can't really think of anything else to say. So we'll move on.
Woo!
Yeah, listener opinions. Let's go for tweets. Disney Goff at Disney Goff on Twitter. One of my top unique attractions at Disneyland Paris. He loves the blend of dark ride and coaster done very effectively. Fun ride system, but as has been said, the capacity, outer facade, and queue area is where it is let down. Everything he says, I agree with.
Yep, so do I. Next one's from Mitchell at Mitchell Disney. A really fun ride. The queue can be ridiculous, but it's a great ride and one I would love to ride over and over again. Yeah, so would we. It's a shame it's a 10-year queue.
I know, I was going to say, if you're riding it over and over again, that means you can only do it about, 6 times in your lifetime, if it's 10 times. That's if you don't start until you're 70 on average, 70-year-old. I would hope that I'm still going to Disneyland Paris when I'm 70 years old. Actually, I hope I'm a millionaire so I can go to all of them and just live around the different Disney parks. Anyway, David at Disney. It's a fun ride and I always enjoy it, but it's not top 5 in the resort, in his opinion. With the exception of the short dark ride portion, the theming is lacking overall. The queue is also 90% terrible and the capacity is a joke. One way of explaining it.
Quite brutal about the capacity, but yeah, I mean, when you think about the amount of people that come to a Disney park, and when you think that this is a roller coaster based on a very popular franchise, maybe they should have thought about exactly how big the queue was going to be and how much capacity was going to be an issue before. Next tweet's from Telmo at Barbosa Telmo. Very good attraction. One of top 8 attractions in all DLP. Only problem is the long waiting times and usual technical problems. That's interesting. I wonder what you mean about technical problems there.
Yeah, obviously there's some attractions at Disneyland Paris that you kind of know are going to be down at some point during your stay. I can't think that Crush's Coaster was down when I was there, and the last few times I've been, it hasn't been. Maybe it's because it wasn't one I was looking to go to like outright straight away. Again, because it wasn't in my top list of attractions I must do on every trip. Especially as it was my first time this time. But I will be making sure I look out for it a lot more in the future. And if the wait time is anything lower than 60 minutes, I probably will go on to it definitely at least once every time I visit. But yeah, it'd be interesting to know if there's actually a story behind that technical problem. Is it happening more often to you, or was I lucky enough that every time I've looked at the attraction, it's always been open? I just haven't really followed the Crush's Coaster that closely. So let us know. Anna,
the only thing I could think would be that obviously Disney rides are timed very well. They know how long they expect each train to be in the station before it should depart. And obviously when you've got a rolling station, you're trying to keep the trains moving, getting people on. When you then have times where you need to stop the trains in the station, you then end up with quite a build-up, and I could imagine that trying to get that started again and getting that, getting the sync going and getting all the trains in the right position on the track again to have, to be running at full capacity again. I imagine that could possibly take a little bit of time to sort of reset the attraction if you've had a long stoppage and end up with the trains being stopped in various places around the track.
Yeah. Anna, at DLP Anna, I do like this attraction. Looking at it totally from a selfish point of view, as I love coasters and I also often visit solo. If the time is right, I use single rider queue and never wait more than 15 minutes. Oh, how jealous am I? That's a dream. The ride is then so smooth, especially compared to Aerosmith around the corner. We haven't really mentioned how smooth the rides are. It's actually quite a unique system as well, isn't it? Sitting in and the harness and stuff like that, because you've kind of got this thing that kind of goes between your legs and you hold on to and then kind of pins you in place, doesn't it? And to be honest, it is quite comfortable, apart from when you're spinning around and you have no idea where you are. But again, it is smooth as well, so that's I agree, Anna.
Yeah, I agree too, although I disagree that Aerosmith isn't smooth. Space Mountain.
Yes.
That's a roller coaster that's not smooth. I think Aerosmith, considering the kind of inversions that you go through, that like Cobra Roll to start off with. No, I'd say Aerosmith's a smooth roller coaster. Anyway, that's all the podcast is on, sorry. Next tweet's from David at Worley Cologne. I really love the ride, especially the loading area and the theming of the lift hill. Smiley face with love hearts. As for the ride itself, I think they could add more theming, like a lot of hanging blacklit balls to simulate the bubbles, rather than just projection. Oh, there we go. That's answered the question for us that we were failing to answer, Andrew.
Yeah.
Let's get David on the show.
Black light lit balls.
Easy for you
There
to
we
say.
go. We'll put that in. It's as if David has been listening to our recording as tweeted us there. But that was tweeted. That was probably tweeted months ago. Jasmine at Jasmine DLP. I love the theming of Crush, but I never ride it as it makes me very sick. All the tight turns and going backwards really trigger my motion sickness, and I'll have a headache for hours after. For me, it's one of the worst rides in DLP. It's such a shame to hear this, but like I say, not every single attraction is for everybody. And we did mention as well that even though at just under 40 miles an hour, it doesn't feel... Well, it does feel fast, but if you look at it, it's not really going that fast. But if you've got the spinning into that as well, and the G-forces, and the fact that it's dark, and you just see some flashes of light, people who do suffer from motion sickness, I can see how it would trigger certain ill feelings. And it's just a shame, isn't it? Especially as it is one of the most popular attractions in the Walt Disney Studios.
I mean, the plus side to that is that if you don't like it, then you can save yourself a lot of queuing. 10 years of queuing, in fact.
That is very true.
Always look on the bright side.
Always look on the bright side, yes.
Next tweet's from Christina at ChristinaKB17. We went to DLP for the first time last summer from the USA. Really enjoyed this ride. Think it's a reason to go to DLP. Loved both the animatronics at the beginning and the cruising through the EAC. Feels like you could be there. P.S. Love being able to literally run their first thing. Can't run like that in American parks. Well, that's because the studio park is tiny and the American parks are really not tiny.
Yeah, you'll be totally knackered by the time you've run to one end of the park.
It's a marathon if you want to cross Animal Kingdom or something.
Linked into running in a park, have you ran to any attraction ever before? In any park?
Have I run to any attraction? I mean, I've done the usual, like, rope dropped BTM, but...
Yeah, I was thinking BTM's probably the only one I've done.
I don't think I've ever literally run, though. Anyway, that's it. I think this is a cool opinion to hear, though. You know, given that we spend so much time in the sort of Disneyland Paris community being like, oh, the USA parts are so much better than ours. Oh, why do we have such rubbish things in ours? They've got all the cool things over there. Oh, they've got Avatar now. But there you are. That's a tweet from someone who's clearly very familiar with the USA park, saying, "Look, this is an attraction that is totally unique to Paris." Which I really wish they'd let more attractions be unique. Like, I'm kind of annoyed that they're building Ratatouille somewhere else, and that Star Wars Land and Frozen Land look like they're going to be identical to other places. So no, I think it's really cool that we do have unique rides, and although Crush's Coaster has its flaws, most people, most of these tweets we're reading out so far are very positive, and that's cool that it's unique to us.
And we don't condone breaking rules, so if you can't run in American parks, just walk very quickly to Crush's Coaster next time the park opens. We don't want anybody getting injured.
Imagine if they did do the... Because in the American parks, if you don't know, they have... basically, they have cast members holding ropes, and they sort of slowly walk towards like the most popular attractions to stop people just like legging it through. But I mean, the studio parks are that sort of like weird two-pronged shape from the center. So I'd love to see them like just like this large rope that just gets split in two, and they just sort of part the ways, and nobody goes left ever.
Nobody ever follows the rope left.
Yeah.
Although it will happen when all the Marvel attractions start opening. I'm sure that will be a very popular end of the park.
Or possibly, yeah.
Cheesy One at JHB Cheesy One. The attraction that is unassuming until you get to the lift hill. It goes up there very fast. You know it's different. You know that it's different when people get off crying in fear. I love the ride, but think they made the mistake of opting for a low capacity ride, and you pay for this in queuing times. It's all. Mm-hmm. When you've done this podcast for a while, and this is our 19th episode now, and we do really in-depth detail. So that's why it's taken us so long to get to 19. But when you've done this many podcasts on an attraction, and you get so many opinions and thoughts from people out there, You can kind of put it together. Everybody's saying the same thing, so it's obviously this is the message that's coming out there. And obviously Disneyland Paris will know this, which is why they've introduced single rider, which is why they've tried Fast Pass. But you kind of wonder if they didn't have an idea that this would happen at the start when they were planning it.
Yeah, capacity.
Everyone's bringing it up.
This one's from Mathieu Warno. I'm assuming that's meant to be pronounced in a French accent. Who knows? Crush Coaster is a great ride, but the wait line is way too long, I think. But great for the sensation, in my opinion. There we go. Capacity again.
Very good sensation. I'm glad I've got this one. It's the longest tweet that we received all of the...
So long. Too many characters.
Sarah Page, I think she's from England, at Sarah P. England on Twitter. I adore it. There we go.
Short, sweet.
Rule
of 3, isn't it? 3 words. Job
done. You said before, a couple of people said it was in their top 8. Somebody else said it wasn't in their top 5. I don't want to ask you, because I don't want to answer my question myself. But now I've ridden the attraction for the first time. Again, forgetting about the queue line, if the queue line wasn't an issue, it would be definitely something I would try and do every single trip now. Again, I've only ridden it once. I've only managed to experience the East Australian Current for that one time only. But as I do like coasters, it's one that I can go on with the whole family, so I don't have to go on my own. Although using single rider on Space Mountain is a plus. Because it means
it's going to tempt you next time, isn't it, Andrew?
It is. Let's go on to some emails. Liam Findley. Hello. Oh, well, I've already made a mistake. It's hey. Hey, Andrew and Simon. Hello's not cool enough. The intensity of this ride was completely unexpected to me the first time I rode it in 2013. The spinning left me not knowing which direction I'd fall next, and the attractive, somewhat leisurely build-up makes all this even more unexpected. It stood out to me in my memories for this reason, but it's also the ride you can always trust to have a 1,000-hour wait. I thought 10 years. 1,000 hours is actually quite a quick wait, isn't it?
It's good, isn't it? Yeah, must be doing extra magic hours.
Extra magic time now, Simon. Come on.
Oh, sorry. I'm so old.
The hours weren't enough. Needed time.
Time.
My second ride didn't feel quite so frantic, but I suppose that's because I knew what was coming.
Yeah, I often feel like this with attractions at Disney Paris. There's quite a few where they feel more intense than you ever expect them to. Crush's Coast is one of them. Indiana Jones as well. You look at it and you think, it's sort of relatively small stock coaster. It's got one inversion, but you get on it, it suddenly feels like it's really fast and it's really quite intense. Obviously, everyone knows how intense Space Mountain feels. But yeah, no, this is definitely one of those where, I guess, particularly as well, given the outside section, you think, that'll be quite calm, that'll be quite chill. But in the darkness with a bit of spinning as well.
Yeah, RC Racer is one that I always thought would be a really nice ride. That was very, very, very. Well, I still to this day I'm thrilled by it. It was just so intense.
The heart's still beating, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Even when I was in the 10 day, it's now gone down, 10-year queue for Crush, I'm still going, wow, the RC Racer. I think it's the fact that it goes past vertical, so you're kind of going over yourself again. And if you're at the back, you go right to the top. Anyway, that's a different podcast for a different time. But it just kind of links in with what you were saying there. I didn't know what you kind of look at it because there's nothing hidden on RC Racer, and you totally didn't expect that it was that scary. Probably actually the most scared I've been on an attraction in Disneyland Paris so far.
Wow, that's a good accolade for RC Racer to have.
Herbert, your turn.
Next up, nice email from Herbert. Let's get straight to the point. What I really like about Crush's Coaster is that it's a Disneyland Paris unique attraction, and there is nothing nearly similar in any other Disney park in the world. The outside of the attraction looks a bit patched up. There is this beautiful design outdoor part, and in contrast, the surrounding studio building, which should be remodeled soon. The outdoor queuing area is the second most boring one found at Disney Paris' resort, in my opinion, only topped by the Armageddon queue. And the queue area is way too small. Redesigning it with some interactive elements and a completely new layout here is desperately needed. Inside the building, I like the design and its atmosphere, maybe not directly looking up at the ceiling. The ride itself is like it's outside. One part of it is fantastic, the rest calls for a little bit more Imagineering. The start, the outside part, and the lift hill are truly Disney levels of detail, but as soon as your turtle is released, there's nearly no theming. only some projected light spots here and there, and the video scene close to the end. There could easily be much more done. Just use some smoke and lasers to project water, or imagine what could be done with smoke and projectors. It's no wonder why Disneyland Paris never managed to set up a fast-pass system. The capacity of 1,000 guests per hour is too low for such a highly frequented park, and to cut off capacity for fast passes and disabled guests makes the situation for normal riders even more terrible. One solution could be to build a second identical track back-to-back to double capacity. Phantasialand in Germany did that with a similar type of ride. That's Windsor Fear and Force. All this makes my mind split too. On the one hand, I like Cross's Coaster for its theming. On the other hand, I don't like the waiting times and missing themes during the ride. By the way, your podcast is my beloved Disneyland podcast because of its deep focus on single attractions. Magical greetings from Herbert, whose DLP celebration. Thank you.
Lovely email. The idea of back-to-back, is there space to build the exact same ride again next to it? Obviously, we've got the Seagull ride now.
Possibly the thing that would be a real problem would be you'd have to build to the side where the Seagull attraction is, and then I think that studio building or that show building, Gravity building, would be so big you'd probably be able to see it from Fantasia Gardens and possibly even Disneyland Park. That might be a bigger issue than whether there's actually space. Actually, is there, come to think of it? Because it gets remarkably close to the Disneyland Hotel.
It is quite close, yeah. That corner is quite close.
Yeah.
Like I said, though, it's one of those. I know the American parks have done it as well with Midway Mania and Dumbo. I know that's on smaller scale, so it is something they have done before, and they must have. And I know in some other parks as well, they've actually physically moved attractions and put them elsewhere where there is space, so they can actually build it twice as big. It's not going to happen, but it's definitely a way that they could solve, double the capacity, isn't it?
Yeah, they have. I mean, they have built roller coasters in double before. There's a spinning roller coaster, not the same type of spinning roller coaster at all, in Animal Kingdom, Florida. That's doubled up. So it's definitely not without premise. Really great idea in here about the use of smoke and projectors, or sort of water screens and projectors, that kind of thing, like you have on Pirates of the Caribbean when you've got Davy Jones and Barbossa.
Barbossa, yes.
Barbossa. There we go. When you've got those faces being projected onto mist, yeah, that could look really cool. The only problem, of course, would be that those kind of projections, they're not very clear. So if you're traveling at speed or you're spinning, I mean, they might just be not viewable. But I don't know. I'm no scientist.
Yeah. I would probably think they would probably make you sick. The only thing I could feel, what about actually pumping real bubbles in people's faces so you get the sensation of little bubbles popping on your face? That could work. This
is good. We'll have the the cast member rotating
right.
individually all of the gobos, and we'll have a cast member stood
blowing
on
a
one
bubble.
of the block sections on the catwalk by just blowing bubbles at people.
But they could have a machine doing it, but would have one of those little tubs. They've got a box full of little bottles of liquid blowing with the tiniest little plastic blower.
Maybe that's what they need to do. That could be the interactive element of the queue. They just have someone that just hands around some like bubble liquid and bubble blowers. I'd love that. I'd be easily amused for an hour if they gave me one of those.
Just in the queue, bubbles everywhere.
Oh, bubbles everywhere.
And you could have them themed as well.
Oh, it'd be so much fun.
You can buy them. You could buy extra top-up liquid in the shop, because there's not a shop on this attraction, is there? You're missing out.
Well, you don't have a gift shop on exit. You have a gift shop on queue entrance where you buy this stuff, and more money making for the park.
There we go.
We're so good at this. We're so clever.
Actually, joking aside, I know you've got nowhere to put your bags if you're buying something before you get on the attraction, but I know in a lot of shops, especially in the UK, at the till area, they've got so much merchandise, whether it's chewing gum or chocolate, stuff you didn't even go into the shop for, but you normally pick some up because it's there and you're in a queue. It's a really good time. Could they have? We'll get onto photo pass later on because I know it comes up in Alan's email. Strap in for that one. But I know. Could they not have any like photo locations or like photo pass, or even if it's like static cameras, if the layout was a lot bigger, could they have static cameras where, again, if you've got the magic card similar to the magic band in Florida, could they not have it so you basically just scan it yourself and you kind of do it yourself, and by the time you've interacted with this system and took a photo or printed off a bit of merchandise or bought a keyring, kind of takes some, like, fills in some of the time, doesn't it?
I think that could be a really cool idea. I mean, you might not even need to sort of put a camera in certain places. Just put like a sort of selfie sign, and then have something that people can stand in front of and take their own picture of. Yeah, that could be a really cool way to do it. That, or you just, instead of a game app, you just have like a shopping app, and people just buy stuff while they're bored. People do that. I do that. Amazon's a dangerous place when you're bored.
There we go. Have a sponsorship as well. Everyone in the queue gets 10% just while they're in the queue. Disney can make money on the commission. They've done something with their time. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. George Hart via email. Hi, Andrew and Simon. First of all, thanks for the fantastic podcast. You're welcome. As far as I can remember, I think this is my first time writing, but I'm a long-time listener and always enjoy hearing your discussions on all things DLP. I really enjoy...
George.
Well, hello. I really enjoy Crush's Coaster, and I think it is one of DLP's most underrated attractions, especially now that it's somewhat overshadowed by its rodent neighbour just around the corner. True, the queues are long, but if you ask me, this is more to do with the ride system being pretty slow to load than it being insanely popular, and this slow loading is my only major criticism of the attraction. That said, the mobile game they made for guests to pass time in the queue is a nice touch. In terms of the experience itself, it's brilliantly executed marriage of a coaster and a dark ride, and is a fantastic use of the spinning coaster ride system to tell a believable story within the Finding Nemo universe. The dark ride section near the start is really enjoyable and does a great job of building anticipation for the more thrilling coaster section, whilst also communicating the story really well. All accompanied by the beautiful atmospheric soundtrack, something we haven't actually talked about, that really immerses us in the undersea world. The coaster part is surprisingly intense and thrilling due to the spinning and the darkness. Intense and thrilling to a far greater extent than I ever expected before riding the attraction. This is definitely a huge positive. You really could be spinning through a wild ocean current, so it's not too hard to suspend your disbelief. Overall, I see this as one of the studio's strongest attractions, and I expect it to remain so even post-expansion. It's that good. So minor retheming to the show building's exterior may be useful if the park moves away from its studio identity, but that doesn't look like right now. Doesn't look like right now. Doesn't look right. No, I've lost what I'm saying now. Doesn't look likely right now. There we go. So all I think really needs doing is sprucing up that midsection of the queue with all those endless switchbacks. Any attraction unique to DLP is a real plus in my book too. Thanks again for the brilliant podcast, George Hart.
Thank you, George.
It does, again, having done the first ride of this in February, and I keep saying it, but it does, you do really feel that you're on the East Australian current. I've never done it before. I hate being in water, but that's how I kind of feel the sensation would be. Obviously, I'm breathing throughout, so that's one positive. The only thing they could do to make it more realistic would be to put you underwater, but every other effect and every other sensation is there, isn't it? Kind of does its job.
Yeah, we haven't talked about the music, and we really should have done. Obviously, it takes extracts from the film. I think it's Thomas Newman's score, the original soundtrack to Finding Nemo. Might be wrong about that. You can yell at me on Twitter if I'm wrong. Obviously, you have the first dark ride section with the sort of small twinkly bits of music that are very pretty, and then you have, for the East Australian current, of course, classic sort of Surf Shack style music, which, I've never known quite what I've thought about the Surf Shack style, sort of surf guitar style music that you have in the Gravity section, because part of me feels like it's a little bit weird. It's not an onboard synchronized soundtrack, so it's not necessarily fitting to the bit of track that you're on. So say Surf Shack can feel a little bit weird when you're on a flat section for a block break section. And then equally, does going from the twinkly bit at the start, does the music really segue properly into the Surf Shack style bit? I'm not quite sure it ever really does. So yeah, so I don't really know quite how I feel about that. It doesn't quite hit the mark, but then equally, Surf Shack's quite fun. For anyone also that doesn't know, the original, the first Sobat that they ever put onto a Space Mountain ride was a Dick Dale Surf Shack style track. So imagine a Space Mountain with that, literally that style of music. It can work very well.
We've obviously seen in the past when they've upgraded ride vehicles or trains, when they've put the onboard sound system on, it obviously affects the weight distribution and the rides are different. I mean, the last thing we want to do with this is change any ride vehicles and make it less reliable and slow things down even more. But could they have? I know that there's not really, well, there is headrests, but there's not really any places on the Turtles Force onboard sound system. Would it make a difference if they did and they had some more timing that could, like, the music could tell more of the story, like following your turtle? Maybe some more vocals. Again, if we have the magic card system in place, so it knows that like 4 of the guests on the turtle are English, so they're going to have the English soundtrack and actually have some voices telling you what's happening or shouting different things about what you're going past or whatever.
Well, certainly what we've seen from the listener opinions that we've been going through so far is that dark ride section pretty popular, but there's a feeling that there's some level of theming that's missing from the gravity section. So maybe that's one of the things that could sort of help to tie it together if you did have a synchronized onboard soundtrack. And I'm sure they'd be able to find a place that you could put some speakers so that everyone in the car could hear it easily, even though you don't have sort of conveniently placed headrests. Yeah, that could definitely be one point that, you know, there's lots of different coaster elements that are used, from drops and dives, you know, hills, helixes, twists, turns. There's lots of different elements that, if they were synced up properly to music, much like in Rock and Roller Coaster, you know, if it all syncs properly, then even if there's not much theming around you, it can really feel like there's something going on and really tie elements together. So yeah, I mean, that perhaps is the je ne sais quoi that's missing in that.
What does je ne sais quoi mean again in English?
No, I don't know.
Well, you've said it, so you must know. You're speaking French now, man. Come on. We'll find out and we'll let you know next episode.
Big mystery.
There'll be so many people who are shouting at their headphones right now. If you're sitting on a bus to work on Monday morning and you've just shouted what it means, I do apologise if you're getting funny looks. Anyway, next email, Simon. Go on.
Next email is from Delang Dimitri. Hey guys, I've listened to your podcast for quite some time now. Even though I find it's a shame sometimes it takes a long time in between episodes, I can relate to life getting in the way. Yes, sorry about that. Whoops. Anyhow, on to my opinions on
quality, not quantity.
Are we heckling our listeners now?
Sorry, yeah.
Is this what we've descended to?
I'll stand back.
As far as the spinning coaster goes, in its own right, it has nothing really spectacular going for it. The spinning isn't comparable to any other spinning coasters of this type, such as Windjar's Fear and Force in Phantasialand, for example. But I can see that this is done on purpose to give the coaster the biggest possible target audience. But in this aspect, it's a tame ride. Now onto the theming. This is where a lot of the Disney magic comes into play. Interestingly, Disney magic, one word there with no space in the middle. I think that's a cool new verb that we've got.
Disney magic TM.
That's it. Registered trademark. Sorry, from the outside it looks too plain, being just a big studio hangar with a little rock work added onto it. But on the inside is where it really shines. Once you exit the plain cattle pen queue line, you enter a well-designed station, thank God, and a single rider's line. Once you leave the station, you go up a small lift hill, go outside for a little pass-through, and then the real story starts. Won't cover it all, because I know you will have covered every section in the ride very thoroughly, but the story is nicely told in this attraction, with all the elements being there, even in the main part of the ride. There's lots of theming all around. Although this attraction is short, has horrible queue lines, and is mostly just overrun by crowds, it's still a ride I try to do every time I get to the park. I do it as soon as the park opens, during extra magic hours. It's the only time when that queue line is really bearable. It's a sign of how terrible the set of the park's rides are at the moment. The fact that a decorated carnival coaster can become such a great ride in the park. ... Well, it's a sign of how badly the studios needed their investment. As an annual pass holder, I have faith that this will get fixed in time, though, now, and with that, the crowds at Crush Coaster will go down to a more normal level once the new areas are open. All in all, I like Crush, but it doesn't deserve the state it has right now in the park, being one of the most visited rides. Thanks for the great show, and greetings from Belgium.
Everything, well, the fact it says there the decorated carnival coaster, I suppose that's what you'd risk it, don't you, if you go and take things off the shelf.
Take stock rides.
Yeah, we expect, I mean, it's talking about Disney Magic, we expect everything to be handmade by each individual Imagineer. I want every single Imagineer, whether you're designing, I don't know, the costumes or the music, I want them to be in building the roller coaster, getting the river gun out and put it up from their plan. I don't want some other company coming in and doing it. Obviously, it's done to save time and money. If there's something you want that fits the story, then you don't need to go out there and build it yourself. But it is a shame if you can ride the same type of attraction. Like our Rock and Roller Coaster, for example, that exact same ride is the layout as well is out there in different parks across the world. Obviously, the theming is what Disney do well, and they beat every single carnival coaster in quotation marks out there due to the theming. But I can see why he's put that in there.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like that email basically just sort of summarised the whole podcast, really.
We could have saved people a lot of time and effort if we just read that out at the start.
Yeah. Whoops.
We'll do that. Next time we'll do that. Actually, we won't. I'll tell you what the next episode's going to be later, and we're going to spend about 4 hours on that one, if possible.
Oh, it's going to be a big one.
Hello. Alan Wheeler. Hi to the magical DLP crew. I feel like I need to do some kind of rap now over this one. My family is very split over this ride. My wife and daughter love it. My son thinks it's okay and will do it now and then. And I will not now ride the ride. I like the outside of the building where the ride vehicles spend their fleeting moment outside, but I do have some issues with this ride. The queue line is just impossibly boring and slow moving. When the queue game was working, it was a little better, but I've only ever ridden the ride twice. It meets my basic rideability conditions of not going upside down and sort of meets the not going backwards. Well, the cars keep going forwards at least. But the spinning is just awful. When I come off the ride, I just feel sick. The last time I rode it, I had to sit down before leaving for about a quarter of an hour, so I made this decision not to ever ride it again. I also think it's not very Disney. Bar the outside theme, and the type of ride system is pretty much identical to a ride I've been on at Chessington. Well, Disney should have been doing it better than the UK rivals. Still lots of people love it, so it may have a long life. Regards, Alan. Again, now, at the moment, I'm loving this attraction, and I love roller coasters. And I know there's people in my family who were the same at my age, and as they've got older, or their life has moved on, and their bodies have changed, and they obviously maybe can't do them anymore. So obviously, I'm going to take what I can now, because who knows? Everyone's the same. Everyone might change. Opinions change. Your body physically can't take on different demands. Now, this has nothing to do with Alan, by the way. It's just his opinion has kind of brought this to me. But yeah, I'm hoping that I'm never going to get to the situation where like spinning or an attraction like this does make me feel sick, because it is what I love about going to Disneyland Paris. And it is a shame that people are feeling sick when coming off it. It does go to show, though, that Disney do try and cater for lots of different people with lots of different abilities to ride certain attractions. And it'd be a shame that if they didn't do something like this, in the possibility that somebody would be sick. But yeah, what else can we say about that? Queue line is slow. It's quite funny when families do kind of not argue, but are very split over attractions, because that just makes your whole holiday and time in the parks that a little bit harder. Where do we go? What do we do? Who's going to win? Does Alan sit outside and watch? Alan, do you sit and watch the people in your family going on the outside section, or do you use that time, especially when they'll be queuing for 10 years? Do you use some time of your life to go off to the Seagull attraction, or do you go on Tower of Terror? Let us know, Alan, because I'm sure you will reply.
Can't go on the Seagull
now
attraction.
It's time for another.
That's obviously a pre-show. Never
Oh,
mind.
that is true. Although there will be an exit option, surely. I've done the pre-show now. I'm going to have to exit before I get to the main event.
Cave it, there's another 8 years of queue coming.
I don't know how we've managed to do this, but yet again, we've got it. We take turns reading out the listener opinions, and you've got this massive one from Cafe Fantasia.
Oh, of course, yeah. Anyone who listens to the podcast frequently will know that we get some huge emails in from Alan, who's obviously at Cafe Fantasia on Twitter. But they're incredibly well researched, so we read them all in full every time. Hi, Andrew and Simon. Here's my opinions. I first rode Crush's Coaster over 10 years ago on the 18th of January 2008. Back then, I was blown away by it. It was much better than I was expecting, and I immediately wanted to ride it again. I found it addictive. The last time I rode Crush's Coaster was on the 15th of November 2017. It's definitely an enduring attraction because, after all these years later, I still really enjoy it. Here's what I tweeted immediately after stepping off it. We've just come off Crush's Coaster. That was so, in block capital letters, much fun. It's such a crazy and unpredictable ride. I love it. Crush's Coaster is deceptive and misleading. To the average guests who only see the exterior drop out of the front, it looks like a kiddie coaster. And the theme, Finding Nemo, makes you think it'll be something that's very gentle and tame. So it can be quite a shock when you first ride it and realise quite how tall and intense it is, especially that main drop backwards in the dark. Because it's a spinning coaster, Crush's Coaster is highly repeatable. You really have no idea which direction you're going to be travelling in, and it's truly different every time you ride it. But here are some of Alan's ideas on how to improve the ride. First off, dual tracks. The biggest problem with Crush's Coaster is its capacity, which is 1,020 people per hour, which is unusually low for an attraction in a Disney park and results in the consistently long queue times. In the past, Disney have built coasters with dual tracks, such as the Matterhorn bobsleds at Disneyland, which has a Fantasyland track and a Tomorrowland track, Space Mountain at Walt Disney World, which has an Alpha track and a Mega track. So one, albeit very expensive solution, would be to double up the track so that the experience exists in double. Next point, to improve the animatronics. Crush's Coaster currently features 5 animatronics, which is the 2 seagulls, the 2 anglerfish, and the 1 Bruce. Yeah, just the 1 Bruce.
Good night.
They have extremely limited motion and are really just animated figures. So I think it would be nice to upgrade these figures so that they're slightly more elaborate and more of the quality that you might expect to see in a Disney park. Finally, it's not finally actually. This is a long email. Next point then, better exterior queue. The exterior covered queue, especially since its redesign in April 2014, is visually a very plain and very boring place to wait. It's supposed to represent a Sydney Harbour, but it's clearly not Disney quality. So, what if Flying Carpets over Agrabah was removed, and that area became a location for our new, highly themed and immersive queue experience for Crush's Coaster?
Well, it's not going to be removed because we already decided it's going to be the pre-show
The new pre-show.
attraction, the first ever pre-show attraction, the Seagulls over the harbour in Australia attraction, coming soon.
And now we move on to the final point from Alan, which is to add PhotoPass. There are currently only 2 attractions in the Studios Park offering the PhotoPass service, that being Rock and Roller Coaster and Tower of Terror. So what if PhotoPass was added to Crush's Coaster? Alan did a poll about this in 2017, and after 355 votes, 64% of fans chose Crush's Coaster as the attraction they most wanted to add PhotoPass to. An ideal spot to put the cameras would be outside, just after the exterior drop. Kind regards, Alan from at Cafe Fantasia. Oh, and just a little bit to add on to the end. I think Bruce the Shark should occasionally say, "Hello, possums," since Bruce Humphreys, the English voice of Bruce, also performs Dame Edna. If you don't follow Alan on Twitter, by the way, his knowledge of how Dame Edna can be a connecting link between Disney park attractions is stunning.
I did actually spend quite a lot of time trying to find a sound clip of Bruce Humphreys saying "Hello, possums." I couldn't find one that was good enough, but if you listen back a few half an hours ago, Simon did do a very, very good impression. The one you've just done then wasn't so good, but the one from before was very, very good. I think normally we kind of just sum up things really, really quickly, but I'm going to quickly skim down this and go through each section. Thing that stands out there, kiddie coaster. It does look like I wouldn't say a kiddie coaster, but it does look quite tame, really, doesn't it, on the outside bit. On the videos that are on the TVs in the hotel room as well, and the promotional videos you see on YouTube, it attracted my son, who is 5. So if he's thinking, yeah, that's fine, he did regret that decision once he got on the attraction and it started spinning. He's already told me he would do it again, but now he's felt the experience of spinning around. It probably will take some kind of bribery, probably get him onto it again. Because even though he was put on a brave face, he was very scared. But he did enjoy it though, which I suppose is what a thrill attraction's all supposed to be about, isn't it? What else we got? We've already mentioned the dual tracks, 1,020 per hour. So you could obviously double that to 2,040 per hour. Look at the maths on there. That's still probably quite low though, isn't it? I suppose. Really?
For a roller coaster, it's not huge, no.
Not huge, even if you double it. Animatronics, I completely forgot about the seagulls. So they're like on the top of the control booth at the station, bouncing their head up and down. I don't know, they're obviously in there because they are such a big part of the Finding Nemo franchise, big part of the story. Their heads are just bouncing up and down and the wings are flapping a little bit. So yeah, if they improve them, it wouldn't really add much difference to the attraction, but it would make, I don't know, it would add more to the Disneyness of it, Disney magic TM, because they are quite cardboardy in their animation. Exterior we've already discussed, and we've kind of mentioned that we won't be putting the queue area in Flying Carpets over Agrabah, as that is now going to be the special pre-show / queue seagull attraction for Crush's Coaster. Fast Pass, definitely something that needs to be added. We were just talking before about the queue area possibly having a photo pass kind of point in there, but the photo pass is lacking photographs that you can actually purchase, especially in Walt Disney Studios Park. So I don't know, it's going to be a money maker for them, because the amount of people who buy photo pass, there's probably still more people who buy each individual attraction ride photo. So surely there's money to be printed there by adding that technology. And it's not really a fast section, is it? It could even go into some of the dark ride areas after you've done the outside section, before you go up into the submarine to the lift hill.
Or you could disguise the camera flash with the crazy strobes.
There we go, Bruce. There we go. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just a camera that nobody ever plugged into a computer before. Every episode for a while now, we've asked for your audio opinions. I'm not very good at reminding you to send these in, but when I do, I'm very disappointed with how many people send them in. I know it's quite scary to send your voice in, and I've even recorded things for this podcast myself on my own, and it's a lot easier to speak to people, well, not face to face, because we're doing this over Skype over many hundreds of miles, but doing it like when you know there's somebody at the other end is a lot easier than talking to yourself into a microphone. But this time we've got Lake Wade from Plaza Gardens on Twitter. He has sent us some audio, and we're going to play that now.
Hey, Andrew and Simon, what can I say about Crush's Coaster other than awesome attraction? One of the fan favourites of Walt Disney Studios. That's the attraction that everyone's running over to at park opening. Cool ride, goes outside, spins around in a dark room. Cool visuals, cool story. Everyone loves Crush, right? Everyone's a favourite for Finding Nemo. Yeah, love it. I think it just needs something sorting with that queue system. It's too slow. It's really boring. They tried the app. They tried the games. They've since taken that away, and switchbacks are just so long there. If they can figure out some way to keep you more entertained there, it's a winner.
Lake talked about how it's an awesome attraction, definitely a fan favourite. Kind of links back into running over to the attraction as well from the listener earlier on. Queue line, as always, entertainment needed. Thank you very much, Lake, for that. Make sure you follow him on Plaza Gardens on Twitter. And next time we're doing our podcast, please make sure you send us an audio clip in there. It's great to hear your voice.
It really is, yeah. Lots of people do it. Come on.
Apple Podcasts, iTunes, we've had one. And I'll let you read this one out. I know you read the Cafe Fantasia email, but I'm feeling generous. You can read this one out as well.
Oh, well, I mean, I do like reading praise about us. So from Matthew Warno from Belgium, 5 stars, great. I'm travelling every morning with the train to school, and I listen to your podcast in the morning. I've just recently found your channel, and it's great. So it makes the time go so much faster. I'm learning about my favourite European park. Disneyland Paris.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We've come to the end of the show now. Before we introduce what we're going to be talking about next, just a little plug on our Redbubble account, redbubble.com/people/magical DLP. We do have a limited number of designs. If you want some t-shirts, phone covers, there are a few loosely based on Disneyland Paris IPs. Obviously, we're not allowed to link anything for copyright reasons. But if you would like us, also if you like anything that's on there, purchase something. A tiny little bit of the profit comes back to us, and it helps us pay for the hosting, etc., etc. The focus of the next episode of the Magical DLP podcast will see me and Simon discussing Café de Cascadeurs. Totally different kind of podcast episode. Let us know your opinions. Email us at podcast@magicaldlp.co.uk or message us on Twitter, Facebook, or via our website, magicaldlp.co.uk. Don't forget you can now also send in your opinions verbally. Record your views on your laptop, your PC, your tablet, or your smartphone and send them in via email. If you like what we are doing, don't forget to leave us a 5-star review and get in touch. This podcast is nothing without you. Thanks for joining us for episode 18 of the Magical Disneyland Paris podcast. Before I say the ultimate goodbye, is there anything you would like to say, Simon?
Disney, please remodel the queue. Thank you very much.
Hashtag Seagull Attraction. Pre-show.
Pre-show.
Until next time, I'm getting hungry thinking about the next episode.
Oh, so am I.
Café de Cascadeurs, give us your opinions.
Yum.
Yeah. See you later. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Sweet!
Awesome, dudes! Now, stay seated, then climb on out toward the boathouse. Catch you later, little dudes!
C'était trop cool!
Mortel! Restez assis et grimpez jusqu'à la sortie par le hangar à bateau, ok?
Mine. 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 Mine.